Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week, along with Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations, Elise King, we will be discussing Episode 4 from Season 3 of The Bad Batch. Before we get started, I'm inviting you to support Force Ghost Conversations on Patreon. If you're a fan of the podcast and would like to consider pledging your support, there will be a link in the episode description for you to check out the various tiers offered. Also, please be sure to check out our TeePublic store to buy some Force Ghost Conversations merchandise. And without further ado, it's time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Everybody, welcome back to the podcast Force Ghost Conversations, your cozy home for deep dive discussions into all things Star Wars and the adjacent Lucasfilm galaxy. This, of course, is another Bad Batch discussion week with our guest, Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations, Elise King, and we'll be back on the other side of this little interlude here with that conversation about Episode 4. A different approach. So it's a very exciting episode, a great emotional centerpiece for season 3 of The Bad Batch, and I think it's a really great conversation. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for that on the other side of this break there then. Typically in this portion, we would be hosting Cloud City Gossip, but we did record this episode in advance as we are currently traveling this weekend. I was celebrating my birthday on Friday, so we wanted to make sure that we got this episode recorded and out on time, just in case our schedules didn't line up to come back home and do a recording then. So we just wanted to make sure that we were on track and on schedule to stay up to date with our Bad Batch conversations. Also, because we recorded our episode in advance, that means I will not be doing Cloud City Gossip this week. So I'm doing my best to cover all of the Star Wars Lucasfilm news in next week's episode, where hopefully we're able to record that closer to release date, allowing us to cover all the news in one fell swoop. So be on the lookout for that, as we'll cover all the great news of this week and the coming week as well. Additionally, I did want to note, you may hear a little bit of a popping sound in the podcast. I'm not exactly sure why my microphone was bugging a little bit during this recording, but I did want to forewarn you, and again, my apologies for any inconvenience that it may cause. I think I did my best to edit as much of it down and out as I could, but it does still remain at various points, so I do apologize for that, and I hope that it's still an enjoyable conversation and listening experience for all of you as you go through this. So thanks again for listening to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. I look forward to having more discussions about the Bad Batch with you all on our social media channels, and of course those will be listed at the end of the episode and where you can find us. So thanks again for listening to Force Ghost Conversations. On the other side of this short break, we'll be back with our conversation about Episode 4 from Season 3 of The Bad Batch. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Bad Batch discussion. We are here, and when I say we, of course, you know what that means. We have brought back Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations, Elise King, to the podcast to discuss Episode 4 of The Bad Batch Season 3, the final season, titled A Different Approach. So before we get into the episode, spoiler warning for everybody, if you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing? But let's introduce Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations. Elise King, how are you doing? Welcome back to the pod. How's it going?
It can't be bad. We're talking Bad Batch. Hey, nice to be back. And I watched this episode like an hour ago, so it's very fresh takes that are happening today.
Can I make it like a dad joke here? I'm going to anyways. But
I can't stop you.
That's right. Why don't they call them the Good Batch? Why are they the Bad Batch, Elise?
Because they're defective yet effective.
I wish that was a mean title, whoever gave that to them. And I know they've owned it in stride. Like, they've taken it and run with it. And they've turned it into a positive. But I wish it was just a positive from the start.
Yeah, that's not how the Empire works.
That was the Republic at the time.
Well, it was still cloning and treating humans as chattel. So Bad Batch is kind of expected at this point.
Ooh, yes. Oh well. Let's get into this episode. And for the listeners at home, you basically went straight from the couch to the recording studio here to chat about it. What is your immediate reaction now that you've watched the episode and now that I've literally put a microphone in front of you? What what feelings are you feeling? What thoughts are going through your head? What are you thinking about?
I mean, outside of the emotional stuff, which I know we'll get into, I'm just really happy with the pacing of the season thus far.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, like, now that the group has come back together relatively quickly, I would say, while also showing the like hardships that each of them have faced.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the season is wide open. There's a lot of different ways they could take it. I'm not sure where they're going outside of like Hemlock hunting them, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really happy with what they've done in the first few episodes to like tell the story they need to tell, but also moving it along so we can get unexpected story, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, when you say it was unexpected, do you mean that like the group getting back together, right? This emotional reunion between Wrecker, Hunter, and Omega. Is that what you're saying when it's like, that's kind of what you expected to happen this season, and now it happened so early, everything is now on the table again.
Yeah, exactly. I think, there's a world where they spend a lot more time hunting for Omega, and Omega and Crosshair like get into adventures within the facility and kind of like discover more of the Empire's secrets, which I don't
Mm-hmm.
think would have been bad. They're good storytellers. I would trust them, but this is a more exciting story to me and a more
Mm-hmm.
unexpected one. And now that they're all back together, like what are they outside of escaping Hemlock, like what are they going to get into? So, yeah, the world is their oyster in some ways, I guess, in terms of the storytelling.
Well, I gotta imagine here because we saw in the trailer so many of those bounty hunters, Fennec Shan, Cad Bane, maybe Asajj Ventress, right? I gotta think that Hemlock maybe hires a lot of those folks because he can't be everywhere all at once. And that's probably where they come into play here is we get a couple adventures running away from them. I mean, does that sound like something that you can envision happening in the near future here?
I mean, yeah, I can definitely see it happening. I think it might be a mix. I mean, we've talked on other episodes before of how they should be like they've been in the underbelly of the Republic or of the Empire and like kind of like navigating the criminal underworld kind of
Mm-hmm.
component. So I could see them also connecting back with people they've like maybe crossed paths with and working together instead of against and kind of seeing
Mm.
because like the criminal underworld is not Empire or Republic. They're for themselves. I think
Yeah.
there's not like a big loyalty there. So I definitely think some bounty hunters are probably going to come after them, but I think some could be unexpected like allies at moments.
Hmm. Yeah, I know Fennec Shan kind of was an ally at one point for Omega, and maybe that comes back into play again here, or maybe she's just a person for hire and says, "I'm going to do whatever I want."
We talked about this last season where like season 2 was Omega collecting friends
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of episodes and like they have a lot of people who owe them favors. They have a lot of resources at their disposal, I think. And so I can't imagine all those breadcrumbs that were left behind aren't going to be come to fruition in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
Omega fighting for them to like actually care about the people that they come in contact with. And so I think it pays off eventually.
Yeah. And speaking of payoff, this episode was really, in a way, the emotional climax so far of these 4 episodes that have come to pass.
I know you got me so worried when you said you teared up.
I know.
No, I can't handle it. It's only episode 4.
To listeners at home, Mrs. Forsco's Conversations came home last night, and I had watched the episode already, and she was like, "How was the episode?" And I was like, "Well, it got me emotional." And she's like, "Oh no, don't tell me. What could it be?" Your mind immediately went towards the negative. You're like, "What are they going to do to rip my heart out in such a harsh, hard way?" And I was like, "No, not like that. Not like that. Don't you worry."
No, you didn't say that. You said just watch, just watch.
Well, I said
You
just
were
watch.
very
It's gonna be
neutral.
fine. It's gonna be. I said it's gonna be fine. It's not a. It's an okay emotional. I tried to
Mhm.
give you as much of a pillow padding as much as possible on that.
Yeah, I didn't. I'd love to hear your thoughts of that last scene because unexpectedly, I didn't cry. And maybe
Hmm.
because the cliffhanger they left us on, I was just like, no,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have to
You
have
went
this
straight to the cliffhanger.
conversation.
You're like, give me 5 more
I was
minutes,
just,
please.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, what were you thinking in that scene?
Well, for
What got you
me,
going? Like, what got you crying?
yeah, yeah. I frankly, I think it was that we had these 3 episodes beforehand, right? So we had an hour and a half of build up to this point, and then, frankly, the whole 30 minutes leading up to this. This is basically 2 hours leading up to this reunion that they've had together. So they've spent a considerable amount of time apart from each other, and it was the way that the acting, what the voice acting, the animation of the sequence, the way that Wrecker comes out first to greet Omega, Michelle Ang, just the way that her vocal performance was in that whole sequence where she's like Wrecker and Hunter, like just the way she's saying their names. Um, I just felt like the weight of the moment in that sequence, and the music is swelling in the background, and it just adds
Yeah,
to
with
this.
Omega's theme in the back, you're just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was just a really beautiful moment, and I kind of just had this like epiphany in a way where it's like, wow, you know, a backdoor pilot in season 7 of the Clone Wars with these characters, and now all this way here, like, and it's animated too. Not that animation is a lesser form of entertainment and media, but like the fact that I'm able to connect with characters that we don't have a live action connection to in such an emotional way, where when they reunite, it's it's this explosion of emotion. Um, that was really what it just pulled on my heartstrings just seeing them, and I want to talk about this a little bit later on too, but I think that this episode really just highlighted, I think you could, it's called a different approach, but I think you could title this episode Omega's trial, right? If she were a Jedi Knight, this could be her final trial, where she showcases that she doesn't need anyone at this point anymore. Like she can survive on her own, out there in the galaxy. So she's learned just about everything that she could learn in order to be self-sufficient. Um, so just seeing through 2.25 seasons how far she's come along as a character from someone that had never left Camino before, now to this point where she's leading this charge away from a secret Empire military base, and she's uh, outsmarting these Imperial officers. And it's just incredible. It's incredible how far we've come, and I think just really the journey set in at that point where I'm like, wow, this is really powerful.
That's a very nice thought of like, oh, this backdoor pilot that we saw, and now it led to this. You're right. That's a very
Yeah,
lovely thought.
yeah, yeah. So, um, really, like I said, I feel like this is Omega's trial, and another thing that I really liked about that reunion too, where they said like, we spent 4, and then Hunter says 5 times circling the galaxy trying to find you, and it was you that found us. Right? It was
Yeah.
subverted the expectation. Like even they were amazed and surprised that she was able to do it. Not that they were downplaying her at all, but it's just like
I mean,
never
she is a
underestimate
kid.
people. Yeah, but she is a kid, right? But and again, just how far she's come as a character in her growth,
Hmm.
in her learn, like she piloting this ship, right? Crosshair's not flying it; she's flying it, and then
Yeah, I
leads
think
this
it
whole
does show
charge.
how, yeah, I think it does show how like the clones are exceptional. Like
Hmm.
Omega's exceptional, but like she has a lot of the same traits that the Bad Batch does. And like, I'm sorry, no 11 or 12 or however old she is, kid is doing that,
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
maybe the Padawans did because they grow up with like an immense responsibility very early, just like Omega did. But I think it does show like they're just exceptional natures and their resourcefulness and just, yeah, how cool they are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, like I keep saying, she's come such a long way. Like I keep seeing that character that was like, hello, and saying hi to the Bad Batch in the beginning of that first episode. And when they go into hyperspace, when they leave Kamino that first time, and you can just see it in her eyes, what it looks like. And now that she's
crash landing shuttles.
Yeah, and gambling to get enough credits to get out and to think through different ways rather than just the crosshair method of shooting everybody, and prioritizing the friendships that she's made along the way, like going after Batcher, and just thinking through holistically the entire situation, the scenarios, and all that stuff. I mean, it just, again, this is a fully fleshed out character that is I really can't wait to see where she goes this season now after having this kind of trial that she.
I know, I was about to say, I wonder what you're gonna say after the end of the series, because there's a lot left.
I mean, there's 15 episodes, so we're not even a third of the way through yet. And there's going to be certainly a great conversation that happens almost, you got to imagine, within 5 minutes of the first beat of next week's episode. I know this is where you were like...
If they do this stereotypical male thing of just like grunting and being like, yeah, welcome back, I'm just going to be like, no, man, I need words said to each other.
Wasn't it wild how the music was so like swelling of this like great emotional beat of Omega's theme mixed with just like some other upbeat tones and not kind of romanticized in a way of this like reunion of this family, and then just like it just drops into like a lower bass tone and then just silence as they look at each other. Like, wow, what a way to describe that scene.
Yeah, I was struck with that scene at the end mostly by the music. And that was what stuck out to me the most. I also was thinking throughout the episode, I was like, okay, I understand they're in emergency situations, but like they could have stolen a lot of different comms things to try and connect with Hunter and Wrecker. And I think Crosshair was like putting it off, right? Because like it's harder to face your disappointments and maybe even like what you would define as failure. And I just feel like he was really nervous about it. And so that's why I'm like, give me this scene now. Come on, Filoni. What are you doing?
Well, I don't know. I want to get your thoughts on this, because do you think, I think why they decided not to do it was it's probably too much for one episode, for the scope of one episode, right? If that conversation is in this episode still, if they go another 5 minutes, we're not talking about how much Omega was the leader of this episode, right? I think the conversation automatically becomes, how did they handle that conversation? That's going to dominate everything. Do you think
that's an excellent point. It was about Omega at the end of the day.
Do you think that really just opens the door for them? I think it serves the
story. Yeah, I think it's just what I want. It's really not.
It's what
I'm not the storyteller. It's not about if I think it's right for the story. It's just what I want.
You're a good fan. You're left wanting more. So it's the way to get you back next week, even though you were certainly coming back. But
yeah, I feel like every episode of my life is just me coming. Like, I mean, I guess that's the nature of TV, and I've just forgotten it with all of our like binge watching the last decade. But it hurts me.
Yeah, and especially like you remember the days if you like had a swim practice or something like that at night and you had to miss an episode, then you were really behind. You just didn't have it on demand that you could watch it if you didn't have like a VHS or something like that to record it, or you were lost. It was over. You never got to see with that episode. The reruns never came on.
Nope, not when I was allowed to watch TV.
True. So one other thing that I thought was really important in this episode was actually at the beginning, where Hemlock visits Nalase in her cell and has a conversation with her in the aftermath of Omega leaving. What did you make of that conversation? How did you think it went? Are you glad that they showed it to begin with? Like, how did you react to that scene?
I want to hear why you think it's important. I feel like you have an idea. And then because I don't have like super strong feelings, but.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm happy to start on that one. I guess in my head, I was hoping that they'd show it. So I'm glad that they did. That's the first thing where I'm like, yes, they gave us some more breadcrumbs into what they are doing over there on Tantus. And I was curious as to if and how there would be any consequences for Nalase, because, right, I think we discussed last week where it's like, Hemlock's a smart guy. He's not going to be dumb and not notice that she was supposed to be taking blood samples all the time. And now that Emery takes one sample and now shows that, the M count transfer works with her.
Her response was so smooth though, and she was like,
yeah,
false positive. I was like, oh, you play that political game. You're so good at it.
This girl knows how to quiet quit. Tomorrow. She knows how to tie the company line, save herself, blame it on other people. Hey, it's a false positive. The machine knows, it can't be accurate 100% of the time, can it?
Yeah.
He's not buying it at all, though. Hemlock is like, I can't wait to get rid of you.
I think it was smart of him to go and follow up with her. It was interesting to learn that her position is not so vital that she can't be in a prison cell.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they made it seem like no matter what, she must be working or we will not complete the Emperor's wishes, but she's in a cell. So obviously, can do without her for now, at least. But I thought it showed okay, yeah, Hemlock's smart, but he's also so dumb in that Empire way we talked about last week, where he was like, oh, I understand it now. You care because she's special. And she's like, no, I'm running without, she loves Omega. And she's protecting her because she is special. But just that way of oh, the Empire is smart, but so dumb.
Yeah. Well, Omega is almost like her daughter in many ways. She might have been responsible for creating her without anyone really knowing it. And then that was her lab assistant for all those years. So she formed probably the most connection with her than any other being out there in the galaxy.
Yeah. It just, and the fact that they're using, I don't know. I was just I guess it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. They're going to, they're going to blackmail her in whatever way they need to. But I was just oh, you're just so unaware on the true things that always slip by you. Yeah. It showed me the difference between him and Thrawn. I think that's why Thrawn's so formidable, because we've always said Thrawn is only outsmarted because the random 1% chance of Purgles coming through the atmosphere is what gets him. It's not because he doesn't understand love. He does. He just doesn't feel it. Whereas Hemlock immediately dismisses that as a power in the world and how it can shift things, and he's paying the price for it right now. Emperor will not be happy with him.
Yeah, he won't be promoted to Supreme International Scientist of the whatever his job title he's trying to go for.
Yeah. Number one scientist in the world.
Yeah, top scientist in the Supreme Galaxy Empire scientist guy, whatever they want to call him. So you were kind of in a wonderful way segueing there into I can't remember the exact line that you said, but it was something to the extent of slipping through your fingers, or kind of some to that degree. And you remarked on this when we were watching the episode. But, when Crosshair is still so gung-ho about shooting and shooting his way out of the situation, you're like, he missed a lot. Is he losing his grip? Is Crosshair becoming less of the Crosshair that we know him to be?
Yeah, I just noticed it more. I'm he's missing, they're not being lazy in their animation. He's missing on purpose. He missed the big, gross commander on that planet. And I was like, that's a pretty easy shot for someone like him. I think there's not going to be trauma that he has to deal with the trauma, and there's going to be consequences to it. But if there is a happy ending for Crosshair, I think he might have to let go of the only thing he's placed value in to find value in a new way. And so for him to do that, he might have to lose it. He might have to lose his old identity to find a new one, which will be super hard, but He still has a really great mind, which will be useful in like protecting his. I hope they like become family again. But yeah, I definitely think he's not the same Crosshair we met in Clone Wars.
I mean, what a theme for the show again, right? Finding your new purpose out there from what your original intent was. And for Crosshair, it's really, I'm losing my ability. Now I have to find another skill. I mean, that's something we can all relate to as we age and we're not able to do things that we once were able to do.
Yeah, and I mean, like the second season, I felt was more like Crosshair realizing the Empire was not protecting him, did not value him, like he was disappointed and betrayed by them, and now it's like his own identity and like how he has found value in himself is changing, and so it's like slowly he's like getting to where Hunter and Wrecker have like already embraced it, right?
Yeah.
And even Echo like has embraced like the rebel side, helping others, etc. And just like Crosshair cannot let go, which I think I was so like frustrated with him for a long time, like almost like unfairly so. And I think it's because he's so relatable and it's just like it's hard to see yourself.
Yeah, the mirror reflection there is always the hardest to review.
Yes, audience, I don't like change.
I think we can all agree change is hard. You and I do handle change and different versions of change in different ways, and that's where we complement each other.
Yes, good team.
So really, the last fun thing about this episode, which fun thing I shall say,
the most satisfying scene outside of Wrecker and Omega hugging each other. Are we about to talk about it?
I think we're talking about the same scene that we're trying to talk about here. What are you referring?
Does it involve animals? Creatures with many different legs?
Yes. Take the lead. What do you think of that sequence?
So satisfying that all the cages open and we just had a Jumanji stampede on all those clone troopers.
That's fun.
It was so satisfying. I like the whole time I was like, open those doors, and then it happened and it was great.
Oh, that's fun. Your brain went to Jumanji, whereas mine went to Jurassic Park because of the way that those one creatures looked like. It looked like when they're running from when Grant and the two kids are running and the whole flock of herd runs with them, basically. Like that's where my brain immediately went to.
Yeah, I went to when like in the Robin Williams version where he like turns the corner and all these animals are charging down the road.
The herd comes at him.
Yeah, it was just so satisfying and like a great way for like the defenseless, I mean not defenseless, but like creatures, right? They don't deserve to be in cages at that level. And so it was just so great. I was just ready for it. I was ready for the chaos. I think I even screamed like anarchy, or you did, or I don't know. We cheered at some point.
You certainly did.
Cheering.
You yelled anarchy.
Let the chaos reign.
In that sequence, I don't know if you heard, but there was a porg sound. So
really?
there was a porg in one of the cages. Yep. So
oh my gosh, I bet someone's like screenshot everything.
I'm sure someone certainly has, or at least they're going to in the near future here. And Captain Man, the Imperial leader of this area, this space.
Is his name really Captain Man?
Yeah, 2 N's, Captain Man.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. That was not on accident, I guarantee.
No, it wasn't. He was eating.
He's such a swarmy little butt face. That's hilarious.
Also, another Easter egg is that he was consumed by a Rathtar, which is what Han and Chewie are hauling in The Force Awakens when they find Rey and Finn.
And that's what gets on the ship.
Yeah, in The Force Awakens
with Han Solo. Yeah. Oh, that's the one. That's the one. Sorry, I was thinking I was thinking of something. Yep. Yeah, I thought so. I was like, we've seen some creepy crawly legs before. I'm sure it's something bad. And then he did get eaten. And like you said, he locked the door on his own fate.
Yeah, he was trying to get out, but by doing that, he actually closed the door on himself. So hey, don't join the Empire, guys. It's a bad gig. It doesn't end well for you. But what do you think that?
Mm.
What was the point of that? 'Cause there has to be some sinister thing that the Empire's planning would be planning to do. Like they just wouldn't just be caging up and sending out
Well, they had
creatures.
didn't they mention in like earlier episodes this season that they were like capturing creatures and doing experiments on them to create new weapons?
Oh, I mean, you
I
might be
remember
entirely right.
something
I
around
don't
that.
recall exactly that, but I trust your memory too on that one if you recall that. And it wouldn't be out of their
Yeah,
possibility either. Like, of course, I think the
I kind
Emperor
of
would be
saw it
like,
as
"Let's
like,
do it."
yeah, I kind of saw it as both like they are doing experiments, um, but they are also like I could see that Captain Man, you said,
Captain
Commander
Man.
Man, whatever. Um, I could see him like having a black market trade going, given like all his
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote taxes. It's just evil. It wasn't good.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. Frankly, of what they could be doing. It could be some weird cloning. It could be trying to manipulate like the geocode of all those animals and trying to create one
Pretty
super
sure they
animal.
mentioned, yeah, I'm pretty sure they mentioned, listeners, correct us on Twitter or X if we're wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they talk about like some experiments with creatures and stuff. So, yeah, who knows if they're like trying to cross breed or like take DNA and like Jurassic Park it up. Who knows? I mean, they're trying to clone Palpatine. So, like you said, the sky's the limit.
Well, let's just say those vine creatures in the second episode of the season just didn't come about without like that just didn't exist out in nature according to the clones that were left behind on that planet. Like that was Hemlock's
Yeah, it was
scientific
an
experiment.
experiment they lost control of. Yeah.
So like what else is Hemlock planning out there that's a part of the system that needs all that? Or maybe that's needed for the M count transfer to, who knows? Maybe it's a part of Project Necromancer in some way. We'll have to find out. The other
We're
nice
gonna find
thing,
out.
yeah.
Yep.
The other, I guess, when we talk about the importance of the show for overall canon, is like as you mentioned in previous episodes, like this is a show set during the dark times, so we get a glimpse into what life under the Empire was like, and we got it a little bit in Solo too, where Han and
Hmm.
Kira are trying to bribe some Imperial officials
Hmm.
to get out, and kind of Omega's doing that same thing. So it seems to be a constant pattern here where when the Empire is ruling with such a strong fist and they can't be everywhere all at once, that it allows for this kind of black market gray area to exist in the
Like
world where
shadow
people,
system.
yeah,
Yeah.
where people are able to gamble for exuberant amounts of money in order to get out of situations, to bribe officials. This Captain Man, this imperial kind of warlord, if you will, of this spaceport, is setting his own rules arbitrarily and pocketing all this money for his own wealth and gain. It's just, as much as the Empire wants it to be so controlled, it just shows again that even in these remote outposts, that it is still kind of the Wild West, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true to history in terms of like you stand up a government and there's going to be like shadow systems mimicking it,
Mm-hmm.
for people's personal gain. I I feel like I'm always bringing up the High Republic, but it's just like so interesting to me that through the books of Star Wars, we're seeing how the High Republic expands
Mm-hmm.
into like the Outer Rim and these other remote areas, and like seeing the Empire try to hold on to that and like instill a new system and stuff. And it just like space is big. It on some level it like doesn't work. So
It's near impossible.
it doesn't matter, I think, if you're like positive or negative, there's always going to be people who are looking to cheat the system or figure out like there's always gray area in a big
Mm-hmm.
system. And so I kind of feel like the Bad Batch can hide in it. And it's, I mean, obviously how the rebels get a foothold in the system, but yeah, definitely, I think true to reality in that approach and that take of this world.
So that was all the thoughts that I had on this episode, but I just want to end with one last question for you, Elise. How excited are you for the first couple of minutes of next Wednesday's episode?
I'm so excited. It's just I love when people go and have disparate experiences and stories and then come back together and they have to refigure out their dynamic. Like even Omega is not the same Omega. You know, Hunter is not the same Hunter. Like none of them are, and like Crosshair is definitely not. And they have to decide what that means for all of them and like what their compromises are if they want to stay together. I really hope they stay together. It would be super sad if like Crosshair left again. And I don't think we've seen that happen. I don't know why, like, to me, it's more interesting to see them try and figure it out and like regain trust with each other. My only regret from the last couple episodes is that we did not get to see Hunter unhinged. I wanted an unhinged Hunter who was like a minute from breaking because he was so desperate to find Omega. And
you wanted Liam Neeson taken Hunter going off and just unleashed.
He has the skills. He can do it. He will find her. I mean, I like that it was Omega who found them, and I don't think Hunter had to find her, but I just for a minute wanted to see him lose it. But it is a kid show. I mean, it is.
Let's just say, just because it that route. Exactly, just because it wasn't shown didn't mean that it didn't happen. So there's opportunity for more storytelling, and your headcanon can populate a plethora of stories as they went through the galaxy 5 times to hunt.
It already has. It already has.
It already has.
I just want to see it.
Let the fan fiction commence in your head.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Seeing Wrecker and Omega hug was just like, oh, the biggest, just happiest fuzzy feeling. And I am so excited for her to hug Lula.
No need for paper or Lula anymore. We get the real deal again.
Yeah, that's going to be a cute moment because they like harken back to the toy all the time. So only good vibes going into the next episodes. I'm not even going to think about a potentially broken heart. It's just good vibes. That's what it is.
Good vibes heading into next week. And that's the way we should always do it when we head into another Bad Batch episode. As we come in for a final landing on this season. We're almost a third of the way through it already. And it's been a great journey so far, so I can't wait to see where they go. And they continue to subvert our expectations every way that they've gone in this series so far. So the creators have earned nothing but our trust in terms of how they are going to finish the show off. We'll be back, listeners, next week to break down the 5th episode, whatever that will be about. And I gotta imagine there's a conversation that we'll be having a great discussion about. We'll see where our thoughts were this week and how they'll maybe change after watching the episode next week. So it'll be fun to see how it all progresses then. But until then, folks,
and happy birthday to Mr. Force Ghost Conversations listeners. It is his birthday weekend.
Thank you.
So what a way to start it off.
By the time this episode comes out on Sunday, I will have already been 2 days of a new year. For me, at least.
Yes.
But thank you, Elise. And to the listeners at home, thank you for listening to this episode. Of course, if you want to continue the conversation with us and talk about the themes of the Bad Batch and where the story is going, you can hit us up on all the social media channels, whether it be Twitter or X, as some may call it these days, Instagram, Hive, YouTube, TikTok. I believe I named them all. Just search for Force Ghost Conversations and you'll find us in some way, shape, or form on those platforms. And until then, we will be back next week with a brand new episode all about the Bad Batch. And until then, may the Force be with you. Take care.